Hello and welcome to another View from the Cab. Today I just want to touch upon Brexit, hashtag Brexit. You know, we voted, the public had a referendum a couple of years back now. The British public had a referendum. We had a vote and it was a very close vote, but the end result of it was that the winning vote was people wanted to leave the EU. Now, I'm not really interested in the rights and the wrongs of leaving the EU because, you know, it is what it is. People voted, whether you voted to stay or go or whatever, it doesn't really matter. What irritates me the most and what really does just annoy me no end is the scaremongering, the way people talk about from both sides, whether you're a Remainer or a Leaver, or if we leave, you know, if we leave, you know, we'll all be billionaires and it'll all be quality and life will be great and there'll be trillions to spend on the NHS and we'll all drive around in solid gold Lamborghinis and stuff. And well, that's not going to happen, is it? You know, this £350 million figure for the NHS that's so famous in the news. Oh, we'll have an extra £350 million a week to spend on the NHS, and you think, well, you won't really, you know. And then you got the people that don't want to, you know, that want to stay, and oh, we'll never get a deal. Nobody will want to trade with the UK, and we'll all end up in wearing Hessian sacks for clothes, and you know, the whole country will just completely collapse. You know, there'll be no more cars. We'll all be riding around on an ox because that'll be the only way we can get around, and life will be terrible, and we'll all be homeless. And you think, well, no, that's not going to happen either, is it? That's not going to happen either. But whichever side you listen to, it's just outrageous. You never get the full straight facts. You know, if you listen to, say, Boris Johnson, he'll give you a completely different thing to, I don't know, Theresa May or David Cameron or any of the other politicians. They'll all give you their own sort of opinion. You're never given, I'm not accusing these people of lying or anything, but you're never given the full, you know, you're never given the full truth from anybody, whether it's the news or politicians. And, you know, I don't want any of those politicians hunting me down and you know, giving me a libel lawsuit or anything, but you know, you're never given the full sort of story. You know, and David Cameron, he was our Prime Minister at the time when the referendum went through, and he was a staunch Remainer. He wanted to stay in the EU, and that's fair enough. If that's, you know, if that's what he wants, that's what he wants. But I think as the Prime Minister, what he should have done, and this is my own opinion, in my opinion, David Cameron, what he should have done, he should have said, here's the vote how you want to vote, and he should have stayed out of it. He's got a vote, but he shouldn't have made it public what he was intending to do. He should have given us the vote and said, do what you want to do, and then voted how he wanted to vote. But he was a very staunch Remainer. He wanted to stay in the EU, and that was his opinion and that was his viewpoint. That's perfectly fine. But of course, when the country voted to come out, he couldn't then, he said, well, no, I don't want any part of this, and he cleared off, didn't he? And he did the right thing, because he's obviously realised, being the Prime Minister, he's obviously realised just what an awful job it was actually going to be. He's obviously seen the result and thought, oh crikey, I don't want any part of this. That's going to be an awful job, for poison chalice. And of course it ended up with Theresa May stepping up and becoming the Prime Minister. I think only our second ever woman Prime Minister. I don't know why we have never had more women Prime Ministers, to be honest, but it's another story, isn't it? And she stepped up, and she stepped into what is obviously a very, very gutty old job, that nobody else wants. Nobody wanted at the time, but now that she's been doing it a little while, everybody thinks they're the expert. Everybody, oh, we need to bin off Mrs. May, and we need to put so-and-so in charge, and he'll do better, and she'll do better, and, you know, it's a terrible job. And the trouble is, Mrs. May, she's damned if she does, and she's damned if she don't. Whichever way, whatever she does will be wrong, no matter what she does. She could get us the solid gold Lamborghinis. We could all have a solid gold Lamborghini, and somebody would say, yeah, but I wanted a solid gold Ferrari, I didn't want a Lamborghini. Somebody would still find reason to grumble and moan and complain. So whatever she does, she's gonna get grief for doing a job that at the time, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, nobody wanted to touch. Nobody wanted to touch that job, did they? And she stepped up and she said, well, go on then. You know, you need somebody, I'll do it. But now, oh, well, I could do a much better job. But why didn't you step up then, mate? If you could do a better job than Mrs. May, why didn't you volunteer at the time? Ah, yeah, see, exactly. So, you know, the thing is, it doesn't matter what you want to do, whether you want to stay or go or whatever. And then you've got this whole second referendum nonsense. And people going, oh, we shouldn't have a second referendum, that's not democracy, and blah, blah, blah. But then I was listening to the radio the other day, and somebody pointed out, quite rightly, that the politicians that we elect in this country, we sort of give them a mandate, a remit to do what they think is best for us. That's their thing, innit? We elect them because we think they're going to do the best job for us, you know, overall. They're going to do what's best. And somebody said, you know, yes, we voted out, but if it looks like it's not going to be what's best for the country, those politicians have got a responsibility and a duty to say leaving the EU isn't actually what's best, so we'll stay in. So they, and that was quite an interesting viewpoint. I thought, well, that is actually, it makes a lot of sense when you look at it like that. It really does make a lot of sense. I mean, I don't know how it's going to turn out. I don't know if, I don't really look too much into it, to be honest, because so far as I can tell, whether we're in the EU or we're not in the EU, you know, we've all still got to get up and go to work in the morning. We've all still got our jobs to do. We've all still got families to look after. We'll have the same responsibilities and things to do whether we're in the EU or we're not. So, you know, for me, I mean, the EU did do a lot of good things. You know, they did bring about a lot of good changes, actually, in fairness. Although what was voted for in, say, the 1970s wasn't what the EU sort of grew and evolved and morphed into this federal, what's the best word for it? It wasn't like, it didn't just stay as a trading bloc or a trading pact or whatever you want to call it, treaty, agreement, whatever. It then morphed into something more, a lot bigger and a lot different than what was voted for in the 1970s. Having that being said, the EU has made a lot of good changes. You know, they have made a lot of good changes for us that have affected us. Some of the things they've done have not been so great, but then that's the way it is, I suppose. You can't have it. It's not a perfect world, is it? It's not a perfect world. It is what it is. Whether we stay or whether we go, I just wish it would hurry up and be over and done with. Just so I haven't got to hear it every time I turn on the radio about Brexit this and Brexit that, and I just think, oh crikey, just sort it out and get it over and done with. You know, I don't really mind. Just get it sorted, so I haven't got to keep hearing about it. You know, those are just my views from the cab, such as they are, really. I don't mind what happens, whether we get a deal or we don't get a deal, or we only trade with Iceland or whatever. I don't really, it's not, you know, not much never mind to me, is what I'm saying. So, and then you get the scaremongering as well. Well, we've got to stock up on medicines and stuff if we leave the EU, and you think, oh, that's just scaremongering, isn't it? Scaremongering. But there it is. There it is. So I did a little bit on there, an extra few seconds, but I just hope that it gets resolved one way or another soon, just so I haven't got to keep hearing the word Brexit. So there it is. There it is. That's my view from the cab, all about Brexit. Thanks for watching.